In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create a simple working drawing for the Trinket Box project. Now before we start, we want to go and change some of our preferences. So if we select drawing, we want to change our standard to ISO. What that does, it gives us some rules and layout on the page that's a little bit closer to Australian Standard 1100. We want our sheet size to be A3, and we want to change our projection angle. It usually defaults to first angle. We want to change it to third angle because, again, that's the projection angle that's used for Australian Standard 1100. The rest of it we'll keep. Okay, so once we're back here, we now want to go down to our drawing tab and take our drawing from the design. You'll see over here, in this case, we just want visible contents only. Now, in reality, the complete drawing for this will have a few pages to it. So for example, you will have one page which will be the complete project, which will include all of the internals and the lid. And then you'll have a page that might be this page here, which will be just the carcass. You'll have another page which will be for the sliding tray and any internal dividers. And then you might have another page which shows the lid. But in this case, I'm just going to show you how to lay it out and do some simple dimensioning. So in this case, we want visible only because you can see over here, I've also got the tray in here and I've hidden it. So I want visible only. I'm going to create a new from scratch. We've got our ISO drawing standard and units of millimeters, A3 as our sheet size. Press OK. Okay, so all we have to do, it generates this sheet for us. Now the title box down below here is not strictly speaking AS 1100 standard. You can actually create your own template title box, but for the purposes of simplicity, we're not going to do that today. Okay, so here is what we would call the front view of our box. Even though we might sort of call it the side of the box, it represents the front view. In third angle projection, we need to have the front view down in the bottom left of the sheet, the top view perfectly aligned and directly above it, and an end view perfectly aligned and off to the right hand side of it. That's the basics of third angle projection. Now you can see that this is quite small on the page, so what we can do is we can go up here and we want to change our scale, and then we can just have a look and see. So I've just changed it to 1 to 2. That actually looks pretty good to me. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to place it down here. I want to keep a little bit of space towards the outside because that's where I'm going to place my dimensions. So I'll left click and place the base view. Okay, now I want to project some views from that. So if I up here select projected view, left click, you might have to wait a little bit. There can be a little bit of lag with the computer. Without clicking again, just move above and you see this is keeping this top view perfectly aligned. So click again and then press enter and it places it. Now I'll show you, I will demonstrate placing an end view, but I'm not going to use an end view because this what I've got on the screen here in front of me doesn't give me all of the information that I need. So there's my end view, but I'm actually going to delete that because I'm going to put in a sectioned end view instead so we can see inside the box. So I'm just going to select that and just press delete. I'm going to come up here and create a section view. So I've selected that, then I'm going to left click here and somewhere above about the middle, left click, come straight down, click again and then press enter. So that's now created that view. Then I'm just going to move out this way and place that view. Just press OK. So there it is. So you can see it's basically an end view, but it's giving me a little bit more information, which is turning, it's going to be quite useful. Okay, finally, we can put a perspective view up here as well if we wish. So again, I'll just go up to projected view, left click, and then move up this way. And just as long as we can just fit it inside our margins. And then I'll just press enter. So that gives me like a three-dimensional projected view up here. Okay, so now let's start dimensioning. So we select our dimension. Now the idea of dimensioning, there's a few rules around dimensioning. Firstly, you want to put on dimensions that are sufficient to give enough information for you to be able to construct the project. No more and no less. So I'll just show you what I mean. So for example, I'm going to want to know how long my end pieces are, how wide they are, and how thick they are. The drawing then gives you information about how they're going to be joined. So that's already just showing you mitered corners. So let's start with this end here. The other rule that I'm going to discuss is generally where possible, you put dimensions on the outside. So for example, if this dimension here, you'll see it snap, that's a correct dimension. Whereas that's incorrect because it's on the inside, it's in between drawings. So you can't always abide by that rule, but as far as possible, you do want to abide by that rule. So I'm just going to press escape. So again, I want a dimension for this piece here. And I want to make sure it snaps so they line up. Okay, so I now know that that piece there is 185 millimeters long and 90 millimeters wide. We don't know its thickness yet, but we'll just keep going. 300. All right, let's get our thickness for that. So I'm just going to zoom in so you got a better view. I'm going to put that there. Now again, ideally, it'll be better if it was over here, but it's just getting a little bit close to this. So if you think about what information we have here now, we know that the sides are 300 millimeters long, 90 millimeters high, and 12 millimeters thick. So we don't need to put that information anywhere else. We know the ends are 185 millimeters long, 90 millimeters wide, and 12 millimeters thick. What we don't know is this base here. So what we can do with the base is we can put in some sort of fine dimensions. So what I want to know is how thick is the base. And I also want to know how far it is up from this bottom edge. Now again, there's a rule when you've got to have dimensions very close together. There is a rule where you have the smaller dimension closer in and the larger dimension further out. So it's a hierarchy of dimensions. So I'm just going to come in as close as I can here. We come down to that bottom edge. Now I'll zoom back out again so you can see what I'm doing. There. So we've got our 3 millimeters. So we know it's 3 millimeters thick and it's 5 millimeters up from the bottom. Now in terms of the overall size of the base, ultimately the base needs to fit. So that's not necessarily information that we need to specifically put into the working drawing. But what we might want to do is put in an annotation about the housing. So what I can do here is I can actually put in a note. I can select up here, I'm going to call it a leader note. And I'll come in really close. And then I'm going to start typing in my text. Now, another rule is whenever we have text in here, it is in uppercase. So you can go up and adjust the font and adjust the height and all those sorts of things, adjust the justification. But the standard is it is always in uppercase. So we're going to caps lock. And I'm just going to write and I've just press OK. So there we go. Housing approximately 5 millimeters deep. I'm just going to type F6 so we can see our whole screen. There we go. Now, if I want to, adjust that, I think, that might be a little bit close up there, so I can just grab that and move that down. Okay, so I know now housing is 5 millimeters deep. I know the housing is 3 millimeters thick. It's basically a single saw cut. Let's just check. Probably the only other information that we might want to put in is another note that relates to the splines. So it's kind of like an instruction. So again, I'm just going to put in another leader note. And I might come down this way. And I'm just going to put in reinforcing Now, if you want a new line, you do have to press Enter at student discretion. So it's basically just giving an instruction there that that it's really up to you as to where these go. And again, I'm looking at that. I might just want to move that down here a little bit. Okay. Now, as you can see, this does a pretty good job, but it's got a few issues with it. So, for example, I said there before that whenever you write in Australian Standard 1100, it's in uppercase only. But you can see here the default, it's put my name in and the title of the project in, but it's done it in upper and lower case, which is actually inappropriate for Australian Standard 1100. And this is one of the problems with any of these programs, is that ultimately to make them compliant, you have to do a lot of overriding of things and creating your own templates. And like I said, I won't go into that in terms of this tutorial, but there you go. You've got a basic working drawing for the heirloom box or the trinket box. And like I said, a full set of working drawings for this would have additional pages for the sliding tray, any internal dividers, and also the lid as well.